We're making the perfect gluten-free bun that's lightly sweetened with honey. They don't require any yeast, proofing, or rising, can be made with a variety of flours, and are ready in 30 minutes. I'm going to show you how to make them lower in carbs and higher in protein with almond flour. Hello, my name is Nicole Bonilla, and if you like healthier recipes made with all natural ingredients, then you are in the right place. To make these really easy buns, we're going to start with our wet ingredients. And to make them really moist and to add protein, we're going to start with some Greek yogurt. Now you could also use some whipped cottage cheese, which would also be high in protein, or you can use some sour cream or some cream cheese, but those will not have as much protein. So I'm just going to add 1/4 cup of Greek yogurt to a mixing bowl, and you're welcome to jot down these ingredients as we go along, or you can just click on the link that's in the video description below, and that will take you to the recipe on my website with all the details. Next, I'm going to crack in 1 egg and 1 tablespoon of some light olive oil. You could also use avocado oil. And then we'll add 1 tablespoon of honey. And adding it right after the oil helps it slip right out of your measuring spoon. And to help the buns rise, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. And then we'll just whisk these together until they're well combined. Next, we're going to add our dry ingredients, which includes 1 1/4 cups of almond flour. Now, if you'd like to see some additional flour options and amounts, just click on the recipe link in the video description. Next, we'll add 1/4 cup of tapioca flour, and then we're going to add 1 teaspoon of psyllium husk powder, which is going to add a little more structure to the buns. But if you don't have it, don't worry, you can omit it. And then we're adding 1/2 teaspoon of baking powder, 1/4 teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'll add those right on top. And then I'm just going to stir it with a spatula, and then I'm just going to gradually keep folding it over with my spatula to incorporate all the flour. And we want the dough to be sticky, but not too sticky. And so I think this is just a little bit on the wet side. So I'm going to go ahead and just add in another tablespoon of some tapioca flour. And then gently work that in. There we go, that looks perfect. So if you do end up using a different flour, you'll want to add enough until you get it to the similar consistency. Now to bake the buns, I've just added a piece of parchment paper to my baking sheet, which makes it really easy for getting the buns on and off the pan. Now, because this dough is quite sticky, you're going to want to have some oil on your hands. And I also recommend removing any jewelry. So I'm just going to pour a little bit of light olive oil on my hands. And then I'm just going to scoop out about 1/4 of the dough. I'll put that right into my hand. And I'll very gently start to form it into a ball. So it kind of feels like you're shaping a giant cookie with cookie dough. Then place it onto my sheet. And then you want to shape it to a nice round circle that's about 3/4 of an inch tall. Now, as it bakes, it's going to expand a little bit and rise a little in the middle. Now, if you want to get real precise, you go ahead and measure out the dough, but I'm good with just estimating. And don't be concerned that you're getting too much oil on the outside of the buns, because that will just help give them a nice crispy exterior. Now, it's really important once we form the buns to add an egg wash, because that's going to give it that really beautiful golden crust. So I've just separated 1 egg white from the yolk, and then I'm just going to brush it right on top of each of the buns. And you want to get it on the top as well as the sides. And to make them look a little bit more like traditional buns, I'm going to go ahead and sprinkle on a little bit of sesame seeds right on top. And if you're doing this with oat flour, you can put some little oats on top. Well, these look great, and they're ready to go into a 350-degree oven for anywhere between 16 to 22 minutes, or until they're golden brown on the outside. But you'll want to start checking them around the 16 minutes just to make sure that they don't get overcooked. Well, here are our buns out of the oven, and they look gorgeous. It has this beautiful golden crust, and I love how they kind of split across the top. Now these are going to be really soft inside, so you'll want to let them cool completely before you slice them. But I have one here that I made in an earlier batch that has cooled completely. You can see from the height that they're not quite as tall as a traditional bun, but they have a nice golden bottom, which gives them really good structure so they can hold all your toppings and fillings. So you'll want to be sure to use a serrated knife, and I'll just turn it on its side. And then I'm going to go ahead and slice it a little bit closer towards the bottom. So I'll just go very carefully, slice down a little ways, make sure it's nice and even, slice down a little more, make sure I'm not drifting one way or the other, slice a little more, check, and then all the way through. So you have this gorgeous, soft, and spongy bun. And now it's ready to be loaded up as your favorite hamburger, cheeseburger, barbecue chicken sandwich, the list goes on. And if you're too impatient like me to load it up, you can just try a little sample right away. That is delicious. That has a wonderful spongy texture to it, and I love the hint of sweetness coming in from the honey. And then I love the depth of flavor that you get from the almond flour that you don't get in a traditional bun. And I love that they're made with clean, natural ingredients, which means I'm going to feel just as good even after I eat it. And I want you to know that I believe in you and your ability to be able to make those healthy foods that are gonna leave you feeling fantastic from the inside out. And I'm here to support you in any way that I can. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today in my kitchen. I've included a link to the full recipe and it's in the video description below. And that will take you to my website, gentletummy.com. And I also invite you to like and subscribe to my channel. And if you know someone else who you think would love this recipe, please share this video with them. And I cannot wait to have you hang out with me again in my kitchen.